We personally have planned a honeymoon, and we've talked to tons of friends who have made really poor decisions or really positive decisions when it comes to honeymoon planning.
Someone could be coming in to be like, oh, we spent so much money on this honeymoon to like stay here, so I just want to eat McDonald's the whole time. And the other person is like, well, I thought we'd be going on like nice dates and nice dinners and stuff like that.
When they're 7 months out from their wedding and they're excited and they're full of energy, they're like, we want to do a big adventure. But they don't think about themselves 8 months down the road where they're tired, they just finished planning a big event, had tons of family over, all that stuff, and they're feeling wiped and just want to relax with their new spouse. Today we were talking about honeymoons and 4 questions that we think everyone should be asking when it comes to planning your honeymoon. We personally have planned a honeymoon, and we've talked to tons of friends who have made really poor decisions or really positive decisions when it comes to honeymoon planning. And so these are the 4 questions we've kind of derived from our experiences and the experiences of our friends as well.
Okay, the first one.
What is the first one?
The first question is, what kind of honeymoon have you always envisioned?
So like some people grow up envisioning this is the type of honeymoon I want.
Yeah.
Some people it's like, oh, the last 3 years as I've gotten more serious in a relationship, I envision this kind of trip or this kind of honeymoon.
Yeah, some people prefer like beach vacations. Some people prefer like more adventurous vacations.
So why do you think it's important like for someone to ask this question though?
I think it's important for someone to ask this question so that there's no unmet expectations left on the table. So that everyone's expressing like things that they've envisioned or expected their honeymoon to look like. And that you can come, maybe it doesn't end up looking like that, but you can come to that decision together.
Like I think a good exercise to do is like each kind of party in the couple go separately, like go apart, write down on a piece of paper like key elements. Maybe it's like 8 to 10 elements that they would love to have part of their honeymoon. Maybe it's 3 to 5, and then come back together and see what is in common, what's different. Could all the things at once coexist? I think that it's important to recognize too how much each person cares about their respective thing. Because there might be one party that's like, to be honest, if I'm somewhere warm, I'm good. I don't care what we do, and that's awesome. Or there might be another person that feels like you plan everything about it, but the only thing that I want to do is see something that's ancient. Like I want to do some historical learning or whatever where we're going. And so you just have to decide like, and it's so couple dependent, what you're going to value in respect to like what your honeymoon could look like.
Okay, the next question is this the best time of year to go to the place that you're planning to go?
So this one's pretty personal to us because we had a vision for our honeymoon to go to Europe. And we would have been honeymooning in December, but we envisioned a Europe trip when it's warm. So we had to pivot.
Like I think Europe could still be a beautiful experience in the wintertime, but it's more so like I wanted to go to a warm place in December on our honeymoon. More than I wanted to go to Europe. And so we pivoted. We went to Jamaica, which is warm all year round. There's also, I remember when we were planning, not a lot of warm places in the world in December. That aren't like the other side
December
of the world.
is a traditionally cold month.
So,
it is true.
But and this could be more than just the weather. So think about like maybe, so we'll use Europe as an example again. In the summertime, Europe is really busy. It's high season. Maybe you want to steer clear of the crowds. And so wintertime is a better time for you to go. Or maybe you love the crowds, so you want to go in the summertime.
And I think you also have to think about like national holidays. Like in Thailand, there's like this nationwide water fight kind of festival called Songkran that happens in April. And you might be like, oh, we want to make sure to be there for that time. Or we want to steer clear of Thailand during that time because we don't want to be soaking wet all the time and bumping into strangers and stuff like that.
Or it's like, where are the Olympics that year?
Where are the Olympics?
Do you want to be ending up where the Olympics are?
Look into their national holidays, look into the big festivals. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. It all depends on what you want it to be. This next question is, I think, the most important question. Like, this is the number one advice I give couples when it comes to planning the honeymoon is, what type of vacation do we need post-wedding? Or whenever we're planning our honeymoon for, it's like, are we really feeling really busy? So we want like a really chill, laid back,
relaxing,
kind of sit by the pool or sit by the beach kind of vacation? Or was our wedding super chill and we're wanting to do a bit more of an adventure, like backpack through Europe or whatever kind of trip?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes people, when they like elope or do like a really small wedding, then they'll do like a bigger honeymoon that's more adventurous. They're going more places. They have more energy to do that.
And I think that sometimes people, like when they're 7 months out from their wedding and they're excited and they're full of energy, they're like, we want to do a big adventure. But they don't think about themselves 8 months down the road, 7 months down the road, where they're tired, they just finished planning a big event, had tons of family over, all that stuff, and they're feeling wiped and just want to relax with their new spouse. And so I think it's so important to think about what kind of rest or what kind of vacation will you need after your wedding, or what kind of like vacation should your honeymoon be.
And for us, for example, we got married at the end of August. And then our honeymoon, though, we had to take it in December just because we had more time off and stuff like that. So from planning the wedding all year and then getting married, we jumped right into work together, worked really hard from like September to December. And all we needed was like 2 weeks just chilling in Jamaica on the beach.
And that felt like the dream.
And it was the dream. We threw in some experiences here and there, but what we needed was just for people to have food made for us, to have the sun shining, to have a pool, beach. It was awesome.
And if we were to do Europe, like stemming back to the last point, it would have been not as restful, not as awesome, and obviously not as warm. So what's our last question?
Okay, the last question is, what values should guide your spending? Okay, so there's a lot of spending that can happen. And sometimes with your honeymoon, you feel like, oh, we've done most of the spending beforehand because we've like booked hotels and booked flights and blah, blah, blah.
And depending on where you go, that could be a reality.
That could be the reality. That's true. But also when you're there, things come up. Excursions or experiences or new restaurants and stuff like that. So you want to talk about beforehand, like, okay, what do we value and how should that guide our spending? Yeah,
this is a good one. Okay, so this wasn't our honeymoon, but we did eventually end up going to Europe. When we were in Europe, we really wanted to, in spots that were more touristy, where we were going to be predominantly outside of our hotel room, we wanted to go a bit cheaper on the hotel so that we can go more expensive on the actual experiences. So like in Rome and Paris, we were like out of our hotel. We were experiencing the things, seeing the sights. So we invested less money in our hotels. But whereas when we were in Greece, in like Santorini, in Ia, we're like, oh, it would be so awesome to get an awesome Airbnb. So we spent more money there. So, and we were a bit cheaper on food and excursions and stuff like that because we knew that we were going to value in that location where we were staying. So having that conversation early on, what do we value and how should these values guide our spending when we're there and I think for some people it's like, oh no, when we're on vacation, we just spend whatever we want, we spend. And that's awesome. The key is that as a couple, you're deciding on that and agreeing on that together.
I think like just the big thing to talk about is like the differences in opinions you have or you're coming into it with. Especially when it comes to spending. I feel like people and couples are so different naturally when it comes to spending. Like someone could be coming in to be like, oh, we spent so much money on this honeymoon to like stay here, so I just want to eat McDonald's the whole time. And the other person is like, well, I thought we'd be going on like nice dates and nice dinners and stuff like that. So just getting out ahead of those conversations so you're not like, I guess, dealing with those frustrations during your honeymoon, which is supposed to be such a fun time.
And when it comes to, I guess, elements where your values don't align, it's important to work towards compromise. Like, so it might be, okay, we'll do one dinner out a day or a couple meals out every other day or whatever, as opposed to like we're doing all eating out or all eating in. And I think it's so important for you to get to a place of commonality in that, so that no one's feeling snubbed.
So those are the 4 questions you gotta ask when you're planning your honeymoon. Thanks for watching, you guys. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe.
And if you think it would be helpful to share it to someone, make sure to share it. It helps us and it helps others as well.
Okay, talk to you guys next time.